decide to look at it later and see where could black have held. But guess what? No rest for the weary. Armageddon number 3 of the day is Liren with the white pieces versus Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu, who won yesterday in his Armageddon battle when he was white, flagging Alireza Firouzja ruthlessly, I might add. Just want to add that we're ruthlessly flagging his opponent. But okay, here Pragg gets the black pieces, and we got a fun reverse-looking Benoni here.
Yeah, Pragg for the flag. Will he do it again? Reverse Benoni, as you say, Danny. It started with the English opening, but black very ambitiously taking space, and Anna, the Benoni. It's a risky opening with both colours.
It is a risky opening, so interesting to see this choice when black only needs a draw. But we saw this yesterday too in Armageddon, and many of our viewers were asking, why would you go for a dubious opening with the black pieces if all you need is to hold? You could go more theoretically drawish. But we saw that this strategy is actually quite a popular one in Armageddon, where you go for something sometimes more dubious, sometimes more off the beaten tracks of opening theory, and you want your opponent to think, chip away some of that time advantage.
Agreed, and I think in some ways both sides are kind of doing that here. Liren started with an interesting Benoni approach, right? But then Pragg, right back at him, mixed it up. But this is a fun structure to play when you have to play for a win. And again, David, stop nodding when I'm talking because it just makes me feel so good. And
you're just on fire today, Danny. What can I say?
It's really true. And you see this move bishop f4. Is holding back the pawn advancing to e5, because that's the ideal structure when black can bring the pawns together. But both sides are playing for a win here, right? The white knight can come to c2. We can start seeing expansion on the queen side. If black just continues to strive for and eventually achieves e5, the whole center can become crazy in black's favor. So these are just really fun positions.
Yeah, really fun positions here. Ding, I don't think this is his preferred style of chess, where he's taking on long-term weaknesses. They say the Benoni, it's always the base of the pawn chain that's eternally weak. You have to play extremely dynamically just to justify it. I don't think he's really in his comfort zone. His time advantage being chipped away here as well. But then again, Pragg, as we mentioned, taking risks, and long-term, there's going to be imbalances. He just needs to trust his instincts. This is where confidence we talked about with Ding, it can play its part. If you're not having a great time of late, often it's just in the back of your mind and it slows you down by a second or two. So knight c2 on the board, Anna. Do you think we'll see Ding make his big breakthrough in this tournament?
I'm really hoping so. I'm so rooting for the guy, not because I don't root for Pragg. I think Pragg is brilliant and he's going to be a world champion challenger in no time. But I'm just heartbroken for Liren, doing so poorly ever since he has become the world champion. We talked about this, how he himself says that he's weaker since he won the title. And I think it would mean a lot for him if he had a good tournament here in Norway. It would be a good sign for his world championship match coming up later in the year. But I don't know if it's happening. I think, well, you mentioned, David, that he is playing with not much confidence, is showing on the clock. Yeah. And Pragg went ruthless yesterday. We should also point out he was winning on the board, but the clock situation was crazy. I don't think Pragg will hesitate to take the advantage if he can, whether it's on the board or by, chipping away the time advantage. Danny, what's your call on this?
I'm with you. And again, whether Liren can turn around in the tournament or not remains to be seen. But it's got to start with one game. One game. And I like that. Okay, it's like he's hearing us. He's sped up a little bit. By the way, he's almost pushed the time back to a 3-minute advantage. And he's also just playing the moves that you play in Bullet, David. We talk about that, right? It's the comfort move of just go, just go for b4. Just go, and there's really nothing to think about. You probably already spent too much time on knight c2. Okay, now maybe you pause to think about how you handle the pawn. material somehow, but after knight f3, exactly how is he converting on this? Don't worry, we'll get back to also the Firouzja Caruana game, everybody. But we're going to dial in right here into the final moments. It's all Armageddon, all fun right now in round 2.
Ooh, knight to b6, big threat of knight to c4, at least eliminating one of the white bishops. And that would be bad news for Ding, so that needs to be covered. How can white keep up the threats? The e-pawn is pinned, so maybe you can take advantage of that weakness. There are tactics all over the place. Black's pieces are a bit loose right now. Okay, he jumps forward, gaining time against Black's rook.
It's a nice move, and Ding Liren is a couple moves away from full coordination. You've got the 2 bishops for the rooks, but you have to find it. Knight d2, okay, he plays it as I say it. Now you have knight e4 coming. You've finally gotten that bishop that has been on the long diagonal the whole game active. So it's starting to look scarier for Pragg. He's got to come up with something tricky here for Ding to solve.
Ooh, knight to d5. If the bar rises, knight d6, I think, wins material instantly. It looks like Ding, he's jumped in, he's found it, he's winning material. He's winning a piece.
He is doing it, and he still has the time advantage as well. It's going very well now for the reigning world champion. Maybe this is the push he needed for his career. Armageddon, yes, but one game at a time, as Danny mentioned.
One game at a time, right? If you're Ding Liren, it's been a while, maybe since you felt good after a crazy, intense battle against an opponent, and it's not over yet. I wouldn't count out Pragg, although he only has a few seconds. He finds a fork. Is it enough? Nope. Bishop e4 comes, and I think with that, it's getting a lot easier. Ding Liren up a clear piece, and Pragg down to his final seconds. Remember, he will start getting 1 second per move in just a minute here. Sorry, not a minute, a second, actually. And he now has 1 second, but unfortunately, Praggnanandhaa will. But it doesn't look like Pragg will be following in his sister's footsteps today, who did manage to get a victory in her match versus Humpy Canero. We'll dive back to talking about that in just a second. But okay, Ding Liren still has not converted, and
he's getting closer, but there were some nerves. Ding actually moved a piece, put it back on its square. He's rushing just as much as Praggnanandhaa, despite having nearly 2 minutes. Pragg down at 1 second. He's doing everything right. Ding's getting closer, but can he finish it off? That's the hardest thing in chess, Anna.
It is the hardest thing, and it's also the hardest thing that Pragg almost flagged, because in over-the-board chess, it's a lot harder to make a move within only 1 second.
And he's making the moves just in time every turn, Pragg. His position is collapsing, and then we see the handshake. It is Ding Liren who gets his first win here in Norway Chess 2024.
A much-needed win for Ding Liren. Heartbreak for Praggnanandhaa, who fought really well yesterday and today as well. Yesterday he was rewarded for the fighting spirit,